Like if we just step away from the word channeling, which sometimes can sound a little bit like it's only for a select few, or it's something we, a level we achieve. Let's just call it heart communication. We're communicating through the heart all the time. And you know your loved one. You know them usually a lot better than you give yourself credit for. So you don't have to rely only on verbal expression, facial expression, body language, the general typical cues that we have become heavily reliant upon. We can go to the heart. We can go to the essence of the person, and you can ask really open-ended questions such as, what do you need from me right now?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I'm with Stephanie Banks, and I'm really, really, really excited to have this conversation with Stephanie today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for our conversation as well.
Yeah. So Stephanie she's an intuitive channel. She's an author. She's a mentor, and she also guides people to become more connected on the soul level, which I personally think is very, very important. So again, I'm glad to have you. And we're going to talk today about channeling and Stephanie's ability to channel, but also some steps that she takes in order to have a more clear understanding of what channeling is, how channeling works, how to do channeling, the whole bang, the whole thing. So Stephanie, I would really like to have you give us a little description about what all you do, because I just touched on it. So can you go in a
Yeah,
little bit more depth?
definitely. So let me define channeling, because I know all of us have a little bit of a different way we think about it. Channeling for me is just connecting to divine energy and wisdom. And that's something that all of us are, that's what we are. So I'm not going outside of myself to grab something and bring it in. I'm actually going to that deep, still, quiet, receptive, spirit-oriented place within and listening. I've learned how to listen deeply. I've learned how to trust. I've learned how to distinguish between different frequencies, those that are of the higher vibrations of the fifth dimensional consciousness, which is just unity consciousness, versus that which is, something maybe we've created it of a lower vibration of the third dimension. So when I channel, I have done the pre-work in order to show up more open, receptive, clear, and love attracting. And that's because I really only want to channel that energy. Everything else doesn't feel quite so good to me. So why bring that through? And I learned to channel, which is why I maintain that all of us can channel. All of us really are channeling. We just don't know it. If you are an artist, your art is channeling. If you are a musician, your music is channeling. If you're a writer, writing is a form of channeling. There's so many creative aspects to ourselves that are spirit led, and that's channeling. So I know anyone who wishes to learn to do this and who is willing to put in the time, the practice, then you absolutely can. I've seen it enough times to be able to say that for sure.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And it's so funny because people want to say, I hear it all the time. I want to channel. I want to channel. Do you realize how often you're channeling? Do you realize that you're actually channeling always? You just don't recognize it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And we don't trust it,
Yeah.
right? Stuff is coming through all the time, beautiful messages and information and guidance, but then we talk ourselves out of it, or we say, it's wishful thinking or something of that nature. So we separate ourselves from it, but actually that's truth. That's our essence,
Yeah.
getting our attention and calling us back home.
Absolutely. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. So I don't want to jump in because I want to make comments, and it's like, okay, wait just a second. Wait till the question comes up because I do have a list of questions, and that's one of them. So we are going to come back to this because it's really, really important what you just said. Everything that you just said is really important for people to understand. But let's talk a little bit about your journey.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to start it off with your mom had dementia.
Mhm.
And so from that experience, tell us about what happened.
Yes. So my mom's dementia was a more unique form that actually affects people in their younger years. So her symptoms started in her late 40s, early 50s. And it took a long time before the medical community accurately diagnosed her. So for years, we were, as a family, struggling with her personality changes and her mood swings and her memory issues before we actually understood, oh, this is a progressive neurological, cognitive decline, and this is how we can prepare for it. So while we were sorting all of that out, my relationship with her was suffering greatly. We were having frustrating communication and exchanges. We kept missing each other. We kept trying our old ways of communicating, the traditional verbal communication, but her pathways for that were really breaking down just because of the dementia. And I had all these skills and tools because I'm a speech pathologist by training. So I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in nursing homes, I've worked with people who have dementia. So I thought, I've got this. This is not going to be a problem, but it's so different when it's your loved one. It's when it's your mother, and there's all this history of the complex relationship of mother-daughter, at least what we had.
Mhm.
So lucky for me, I had a best friend at the time who was a very gifted channeler. And she offered, or actually I begged her, but she would have offered to channel my mom so that I could alleviate some of this discord that we had and the dissonance that was constant, and really understand, what are our souls here to do together? What do you need from me? Why is it so hard right now? Is there purpose or meaning behind why dementia is the experience that you are going through? And I got to ask all of that through my best friend who channeled my mother's soul while she was alive. And I will tell you, Lisa, it changed everything
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Like, it changed the relationship instantaneously, because once you hear from a soul, that's all I have to say. It's just
Yeah.
such a breath of relief,
Yeah.
because then you really do understand the love that drives the relationship. And I was able to make choices differently. Instead of demanding that my mother join me in the shared reality that I was in, I could join her in hers.
Yeah.
Instead of insisting that she give the right answers or accuracy, I could just say, that actually doesn't matter at all, because it really doesn't.
Yeah.
And we went from frustration to playfulness to laughter to joy, and still going. She's on the other side now, and our relationship is great.
Mhm.
But we were able to heal
Mhm.
even through dementia.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity, how whenever you were in this physical space, because and the reason why I'm asking you this is because my father had Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
and so I'm a little bit familiar with it. I didn't live with him, and I wasn't around him a whole lot because he lived in Nevada and I live in Oklahoma. But I understand, in the later times when he was really unable to communicate because, I would ask him a question and then he would go off into a different direction. And the way that we have, when we're experiencing things like that, just like what you were talking about before you had the soul connection, I had the belief system in my head. It's like being able to look at a situation, and then a lot of, all of us that most of us have aging parents, and that, at some point or another, we're going to have something like this happen. In this day and age today, and this time, I don't think it's going to be permanent this way, but it is right now. But when I have the idea of not being able to communicate and ask a question, or being able to understand what they want, or witnessing frustration because they can't verbalize or explain what their wants and desires are, I'm interpreting all of this from my mind structure on this 3D level. So all of they have to do this, or they have to do that, or something's wrong with them, or whatever, how we put our ideas on these situations. And again, because I do the Akashic records, I get to see stuff from a different perspective. I see it from the spiritual aspect, but not everybody does. So when somebody is experiencing something like this, how can somebody begin to understand that that soul is on a journey and the soul is having an experience. How can I tap into that and be able to see it from the level that you were talking about, what you got to witness?
Yeah, you'd have to channel them. And the good news is that, like we said, anyone can learn to do this. So for me, it was tapping into my best friend's skills. But what I also learned was that there was a lot of reading and studying that I could have done that would have brought me up to speed with this entire realm of possibility of communication, that, let's call it heart communication, right? Like if we just step away from the word channeling, which sometimes can sound a little bit like it's only for a select few, or it's something we, a level we achieve. Let's just call it heart communication. We're communicating through the heart all the time. And you know your loved one. You know them usually a lot better than you give yourself credit for. So you don't have to rely only on verbal expression, facial expression, body language, the general typical cues that we have become heavily reliant upon. We can go to the heart. We can go to the essence of the person, and you can ask really open-ended questions such as, what do you need from me right now? Um, how would it feel? Here's a yes or no question. Would it feel comforting if I held your hand in this moment? You don't have to say any of this out loud, because if your loved one can't process language, that's not going to be very helpful. But if you ask it first, it's almost like seeking permission. May I come closer? May I touch? May I draw near? You'll feel from their heart a yes or no. You'll feel it in your body, and then you can respond accordingly. So there's a lot of things that you can do without feeling like you have to master channeling or even have someone else do it for you. And that will build your trust and your confidence in the connection that you already have. And that's a great place to start.
Okay, I am going so off track
Cool.
because you just said something that is so important to me in being able to move into this higher dimension of consciousness that we call the fifth dimension. And what my guides tell me is that we are going to start communicating. We have the ability to communicate in a form of telepathy, but the way that I always see it is heart to heart.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying. That it's when we can break down this mind's construct and learn how to feel and recognize this heart space, and I can feel your heart space,
Yes.
then we start picking up the signals on a deeper level, that vibrational frequency resonancy level that helps guide both of us.
Absolutely. And I think this is where, again, we can get stuck in language. When I hear the word telepathy, I think of mind to
Right.
mind communication, because that's how it used to be defined. But thankfully, because of current research and the telepathy tapes,
Yeah.
we are now understanding it in a vastly, different way. There's more expansion to what telepathic communication is. However, I'm not aware yet of a new definition that I find to be sufficient in my passion for language.
Mhm.
So, yes, I totally agree. And so even in the words telepathic, we're not, just to be clear with your people, we're not talking about reading minds.
Right.
No, I don't want to read anybody's
No.
mind. Mine is a bad enough neighborhood. I can I, I do not need to be in yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, but so this is why I stick with the description of heart communication. We
Yeah.
all know what it feels like to be heart connected.
Yeah. And that's the way that I always see it. It's not necessarily me reading your thoughts.
Mhm.
What it is me picking up on your frequency, and I
Yes.
can feel the frequency.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so there is, like you said, I did never really think about, because when this has come up so much lately because of the
Mhm.
shift and who we're turning into, what we're turning into, and what we're becoming. All this is becoming more telepathic. Well, the way that I've always heard it is, no, I'm just picking up on an energy frequency, but it's always been heart to heart. I don't even associate it with mind to mind anymore. So I'm glad you brought that up, because
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
need to
think
talk
we
about
all
that.
need an update with that,
Yeah,
right? Like, it's time to relanguage a lot of things,
yeah.
and that's one of them for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So it's more like heart telepathy instead of
Yeah.
mind telepathy,
Yes.
mental telepathy, or whatever they used to call it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I did kind of go down a little rabbit hole there. So let me get back on track. Okay. So you've had these beautiful experiences with channeling. So what brings you the most joy and meaning with the
Mm.
ability that you've acquired or mastered?
Mm. Yeah, knowing that there's always more to what we are thinking, to what we're seeing, to what we're perceiving through our five sensory system. There is always love at work, always love, running in the current beneath and beyond all of it. And this gives me a lot of peace because being highly empathic, I really feel suffering greatly on a daily basis, global from the perspective of humans and the cruelty that they are showing to one another, to the destruction of our planet and the species that we're losing. I feel it all of it. Crying for me is a daily occurrence, and that's not a bad thing. It's just energy moving that needs to move. But knowing that the what the foundation of all of this is us coming back to the truth, which is that we are love. We are here to express that, be that, live that, embody that, share that. And we're learning how to do so sometimes at very different rates and paces. And seemingly some do not look like they're doing that, but somewhere that is still the foundation.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. So when you're channeling, because I think this is important for people to know, is like what it feels like. So when we had mentioned earlier about, when you're an artist and you're just getting in your flow. We always hear this all the time. You're in your flow. You're in your flow. So whether it's a song, all of a sudden a poem comes to you when you start writing, or, you get this idea that baking bread and you want to start adding, different ingredients and stuff. A lot of times those are those little tidbits where people don't really recognize. I have this little download of, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you add this? Or why don't you put the paint here? Or, do whatever. So give us an idea where, we're living our everyday life and completely oblivious to this ability to channel this information. Give me some signs of, like, what are you feeling? What are you sensing? How does your body feel? What happens when you start feeling that something's coming through you?
Well, first, I would
Signs
love.
is what I'm trying to say. What are your signs?
Okay, so first I want to say thank you so much for bringing cooking into the channeling
Yeah.
sphere because yes. And do you know like how many ancestors of ours are whispering in our ears in the kitchen, add this, do that? This is like from great 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 grandmother who knew how to bake bread or who knew what was needed for that soup. I mean, I just have chills all over my body. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you said that because
Yeah.
cooking, baking, creating food, that is a form of channeling.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the way that I channel professionally is I just call it on demand. I am only asking for the energy that is being requested. So instead of saying, okay, whoever is here, please come forward with a message that will help so and so, my client will say, you know what, I'm really struggling with my relationship with my 12-year-old daughter. And then I will feel the presence of the essence, the soul of their 12-year-old daughter. And I'll say, great, let's channel her soul. Is that cool with you? Yes, that's great. I will close my eyes, tune and listen. And that energy comes through fluently with language, paragraphs. Sometimes I'm speaking nonstop for 15, 20 minutes, depending on how much they have to say. Then I open my eyes and the client and I process that information through what we have to work with, which is lived experience and personality and what goes beyond and where they can connect and resonate with certain things. And I will share imagery and insights and movies almost that have also come through that channeled message. So when I'm channeling, it feels like joy, it feels like laughter, it feels like play, it feels like peace, it feels like love, it feels like fun, because that is spirit. And that doesn't mean there's not hard stuff that comes through, as well. But it's not scary. It's not
Mhm.
darkness. I'm not channeling any of that. We're going to the fifth dimensional again. So it's light. It is great care. It's compassion. It's unity. So that's how it feels to me. It feels like an embrace. It feels like both of us, all of us, however many I'm channeling for, are being held in this protected, energetic sphere. It feels like we are being shown how to laugh a little more, how to stop taking ourselves so darn seriously all the time. That's what it feels like. And then when my guides come through regularly for me, when I'm not specifically asking necessarily for a particular message or guidance, um, I would say I receive that. I hear it, but of course, not through sound waves like we're used to hearing. I hear it as a clarity. It feels like assurance. It feels like reassurance. It feels like certainty. And it doesn't have expectation. My guides know that just because they told me the thing does not mean I'm going to do the thing. I might not be ready to. I might be in resistance to it. I might have a different timeline that I'm adhering to in the personality.
Mhm.
And they don't, that's cool. It's never an I told you so. It's never a you made a mistake. The guides do not believe that we make mistakes. We just make choices, right?
Yep,
And that's,
absolutely.
yes,
Everything's an experience. It's not good or
exactly.
bad, and we are perfection regardless of what we choose to create in our mind.
Exactly. So it's love. It feels like love. That's why I want everybody to start doing it.
Yeah,
That's the world that my heart knows is possible for
yeah,
us.
yeah. Well, I'm curious because everything that you're saying is completely in alignment with my guides, which are from the Akashic records. So do you, I mean, because you're channeling the soul, is it connected to the Akashic field or is it something different?
That's a good question, and I would have you ask your guides and tell me because you would be the expert on that. But I will say that I have plenty of times where clients are like, I have this fear, I have this repetitive thought, or I have this behavior that I can't seem to stop. And we can tune into past life experiences.
Hmm.
So I'm not like a trained Akashic Records reader as
Yeah,
you, but I'm using, I have access through channeling of different lifetimes, snapshots, and information that can let that client know, oh, this is what I walked in that lifetime. And so the thread of that has come through with me in
yeah,
this lifetime. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I do have my records open right now, and they're saying it's the direct connection to the Akashic field, and it's the soul's connection, and that's why. And light language is coming through. I'm sorry. I'm
Don't
gonna do it.
apologize. Bring it.
They're saying what the advantage is that you have is that you're recognizing the soul's truth.
Yes.
So you're tapping into that layer of that energy essence of what the soul is, and that energy field is directly connected to the Akashic field, the Akashic masters, which is the highest divine divinity of love. And
Yay!
yeah, cool. Thank you. And it's funny, but it's funny though because I'm sitting here listening to you, and it's like you're repeating my words. It's like you're saying exactly what I've said before, what I'm feeling and everything. So, yeah, so yay. But again, it's understanding that, the Akashic masters hold the records of the soul. It's the energy pattern,
Yeah.
that is directly connected to the soul. And there's a whole lot more detail I won't go into because we're not talking about the Akashic records, but yay. Yes.
Yes. Yay. Yay.
Yeah, but what I want to emphasize what you're saying is this place of love, the happiness and the joy, and being able to understand that that is the truest essence of who we are.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
isn't it fun to be able to see it and feel it?
Yes, and that's why I will always channel. I
Yeah.
don't know like how it will always look for me professionally, but
Mhm.
once you taste that, breathe that, feel that, embody that, why would you ever opt for anything different?
Yeah. Well, and it changes our whole perspective.
Yes.
It's, we the way that we look or view it, anything is from the mind level of
Mhm.
from the way that we've been taught, the experiences that we've had, the way that society's embedded, the what's accept all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And so when we're looking at the limited aspect of who our mind is, and then you can tap into this beautiful soul essence, that's connected to everything. It's a completely different perspective,
Yes.
completely
Yes.
different. And this is the beautiful place to be. And I'm like you,
Mm.
I prefer to stay here sometimes.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
because I mean, you understand, it's more, so much more expansive. It's the purest essence of love. It is everything and anything. And then when you can see something, a situation from that spiritual perspective, I always see it like I'm using my hand, because I always see it that I'm looking down on the situation and being
Mhm,
able to see it from a different perspective or a different view that
mhm.
is on that deeper level of being able, like your mom, being able to understand why the soul's here, what the experience is that the soul's having, and why, and what I can see from it.
Yes, absolutely. It's the difference between what you're describing as the conditioned mind, right? What's been beset upon us. You'll think this way,
Mhm.
you'll make these choices, you'll take these actions, you'll play these roles and have these responsibilities versus literally the unconditional.
Yeah.
There's no conditions put on us by spirit, by soul. There's no demands, there's no, withdrawal of love because we got it wrong, did it wrong. Nope.
Yeah.
We can make no mistake. This comes through channeling. I've lost count of how many clients I have channeled the words of their soul saying, or their guide saying, it's not possible for you to make a mistake.
Yeah.
It's not possible. It's so hard for us to wrap our minds around that when society and family and religion and anything else, any other context that we have been conditioned by has told us the opposite from the moment we reached for something that someone didn't want us to reach for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everything we do, I mean, it's that, oh, how do I say it? Somebody gets mad at us and we did something wrong. I
Right.
failed,
Yes.
or I didn't achieve the goal. I'm a failure.
Yes.
We're so conditioned to believe all of the that I'm not good enough, or I didn't do
Hmm.
something right, or I need to make everybody else happy, or
Yeah.
all of that believing. And again, you're speaking my words. I love you, sister. This makes me so happy. Yes, because I mean, and that's the thing, is that we're in this place of breaking down these labels. There
Yes.
is no such thing as good and bad. There's no such thing as pretty and ugly. There's no much such thing as, right and wrong. Everything is just an experience.
Yeah.
And the idea of ugly, which it drives me crazy, is that perception of how we've been programmed to, this is what it has to look like.
Hmm.
Instead of being able to break it down to that energy level, like we said, and then we start seeing each other with the energy frequency, and then that whole facial thing becomes just a blur,
Yes.
because we're not conditioned at looking at, and then our mind is defining.
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So yeah, yes. Okay. So okay, so people are now, we're to the stage of people are beginning to recognize, yeah, I do have the ability to channel, and
Hmm.
I've probably been channeling my entire life, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was
Yeah.
just thinking this is the way that it is. So now that we have determined that, and we go into the space of basically turning it on and off.
Okay. Yes. So
Okay.
yeah, you want, just like in any relationship, you want to have really loving and clear boundaries. You wouldn't leave yourself open to anyone, tapping on your shoulder, calling you at any hour of the night, basically pulling energy from you endlessly. At least I hope you wouldn't, because you would end up depleted and frustrated, and that's not very healthy. So it is really important to have very clear boundaries. For example, every time I have to go to a grocery store, I do a process of clarifying where I begin and end energetically, and what I want to bounce off of my field. If I forget to do this, and sometimes I do, life gets distracting and busy, then I sit in the car and I cut all the cords with my magical cord cutting scissors, which are just my fingers, so that I can release that. So this is just an example of having really good and clear boundaries. I am not intended to operate on this earth plane as a sponge, absorbing everybody's situation, emotional state, physical state, energetic state. That's so irritating. It's so annoying. I know. I used to do it before I
Yeah.
learned how it was an option not to. So that's an example. You also want to clarify when you recognize, okay, so I'm a channel, cool, that's amazing. You also want to clarify, what would you like to channel? How do you want it to feel? What do you want the frequency to be like? Because you do have options here too. There are those who channel dense energy. That's not for me. I don't recommend it. I don't think it's certainly not good for my system.
Mhm.
But you need to decide, like, what do I want this to feel like? Do I want it to feel like joy and love? Do I want it to feel like I'm solving a really hard, heavy, difficult problem? Decide, make your decision, and then communicate that to your guides. You have guides of protection. You have guides of clarity. You have guides that surround you in all of your comings and goings. You have guides that get you the best parking spot at the mall. True story. You have them for everything. So let them know, I would like, this was my request. I want to hold the highest vibrational frequency as possible so that those that I channel for are near that or above when I'm channeling. I knew that if I was channeling for people that held a much denser frequency, that would be a risk to me. So this was a boundary that I set up. There's a channeler for everybody out there. Since we're all channels, we can all find what we need to find. Just
Mhm.
because I can channel for anyone doesn't mean I should. And I learned that the hard way too sometimes. But that's what I would say about clear boundaries. Decide, how do you feel the best? What do you want? What kind of energetics do you want to carry in and around your body? How does your heart want you to feel? How does your heart want to guide you?
Mhm. So, what I'm hearing you say is that we do need to have an on-off switch.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, because we don't necessarily, our bodies at this particular time aren't really even adapt to stay in that energy frequency 24/7. And
Right.
so, as we shift and change, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But right now, most of us can't handle staying in that energy frequency
It
24
will
7.
create chaos.
Yeah.
That's what chaos feels like.
Yeah.
And so, yes, when I have a ritual that I do before a session, that's where I invite in and welcome in the highest loving realm. And then I have a ritual that I do when I end a session, and that shows the guides and the souls and whoever I have been interacting with, okay, we are complete now. On, be on your way.
Yeah.
Go to where you're in highest service, and
Yeah.
this helps me so that when I'm at the grocery store, I am not being visited by too many energies that are vying for my attention or my time. It's a respect. It's a
Yeah.
respect. We show that to each other, and it's good to show that with your guidance system.
Yeah. And a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Especially at night when they're sleeping. Like, they may
Mm,
have entities come in, people that wanna visit with them, people that like the mediums that, and all of the people that have transitioned that may wanna communicate or need help. I find I've talked to a number of people that have had problems being able to, be able to separate that as well.
yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not here for everybody."
Right.
You
Right.
know, like, "You need to go somewhere else. I'm
Yes.
trying to
And
sleep tonight."
yeah, and that's kind of sneaky to come in while I'm on the astral,
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to do my thing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So whenever we are in that channeling situation, how do we start? Because one of the main things that people say is that I can't figure out if it's my mind, if I'm making it up, or
Mhm,
if it's something that I'm actually receiving. So how do
mhm.
you how do you describe that?
Yeah. So if it's your mind, what I will say is you will feel that because in your body, right? So the body never lies. It's not capable of lying. It has no desire ever to lead you down the wrong path. However, that doesn't mean that we always listen to the signals of the body, because oftentimes they start off very subtle and then they become very noisy with prolonged ignoring, such as inflammation, illness, sickness, pain, injury, etc. So since your body can't lie, you really want to use it as your tuning fork. Is that the right word? To see where truth is, see what's true for you. Um, your mind, I'm going to assume we're talking about like the ego mind. The ego mind is going to be focused on keeping us safe, and it tends to do that from the angle of scarcity and what if, stuff that tends to surface: anxious thoughts, anxiety, fears, a desire to hold back or move away from, because taking risks for the ego is like the worst thing it can imagine, because it can't assure safety if we're, say, more visible, or if we're taking risks to put ourselves out there more or to share more of ourselves. So that realm, the mind realm, feels very different in the body. Oftentimes it will feel like, for me, it feels like constriction in my heart. It feels like fear. It feels like avoidance. It feels like an unsettled energy. That's not spirit. It's just not possible for that to be spirit. Spirit, soul, feels expansive. It feels inviting. It feels welcoming. It feels, like I said before, of joy, of laughter, of humor, of lightheartedness, of clarity, of love. So when you just trust what your body, your heart, your gut, wherever it is that you feel truth, trust what is coming through, that is true for the moment. Before you run it up the flagpole of overthinking and cognition, trust your first sense for how it feels and go with that. And what I will say about imagination, because there's a misunderstanding, I could not channel if I did not do so through the space of imagination. It belongs. This is the most creative gift that we are given as humans. Nothing has ever been created, developed, designed without first being imagined. So if you ever are saying, I think I'm just making this up, bravo, bravo, make it up. We're making it all up all the time. That is the beauty of being human. That also is channeling.
Absolutely. And I'm going to throw in another little part to the imagination. If you can't visualize something, then it's not ever going to be. So if I don't imagine or believe in fairies, it's never going to open up the vision to be able to see the fairies. That makes sense?
It does. And
Yeah.
and we can even take it to a strictly 3D. Like, if you did not imagine yourself having this podcast, you'd not do it.
Yeah.
Right? If I did not imagine myself following my heart to adopt as many senior dogs as I possibly could house, I would not do it. So
Yeah.
first, yes, we have to image this in some way. And some people literally can't. I met someone who said, I do not have the ability to picture in my mind. That's okay. Your heart can imagine for you. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a visualization. It could be what your heart designs and shows as possible.
Mhm. Okay, so next step. Again, and this is a little bit of the mind's human creation because we always want validation.
Yeah.
And so, okay, well, I had this thought come to me. I had this message come to me, and I want to validate that it's accurate. Do you understand what
That's a
am I
sticky
asking the question?
territory. Yes.
Yeah. So wanting to test the accuracy, and this is such a human
Yes.
thing.
It is. It's very, very human, which means
Yeah.
you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And when I'm teaching channeling, what I tell people is, as you're starting, let's just say you're getting messages for someone else, or you think feels like you are. Um, I encourage people to err on the side of not sharing.
Mhm.
You can create a lot more chaos and
Yeah.
confusion by sharing something, even as excited as you are to share it, even as certain as you feel you might be about it. When you are learning to do this and trust and feel into the variable frequencies that could be coming through, let that just be for you. Let that be information for you, and ask for information for you. What would be in your highest service? What would allow for you to be the greatest version of yourself, rather than doing so for others? I'm talking about, like, in the beginning, as you're building your connection to your higher self, to other souls, to spirit. Now, I'm not going to lie. My ego does a dance when a client says, that is exactly how that person talks, or what that person said, or what happened. My ego's like, oh yeah, we got this, but I cannot rely on that. And I have learned not to seek that. But
Yeah.
this comes with many years of experience. It comes with the heartbreak of quote, not getting it right, which is a trap of the mind. This right, wrong version of things is not, it's not a thing. It's not real. So yeah, it's a tricky one, the seeking of validation, again, because we've been taught as we grow up that we have to have that. We are community beings, right? We
Mhm.
need support within family or community for our survival. We are not independent, even though the culture would have us strive for that as well. So, or separated. I don't mean to say we're not independent, but we're not separate
Right.
individuals. So honor that that's going to be an inclination for you to seek validation, and also honor that you do not need that to continue to make progress and to grow your confidence in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so from your perspective, what are some steps that people can take to start developing their ability to channel? Like what are daily practices and exercises that people can do to become more in tune with when they're channeling and how to develop that?
Yes. So we actually have to slow down. That's probably the worst news anybody wants to hear. But this is a really crucial time to slow down because it is the stable nervous system. It is the grounded nervous system that has the capacity to stabilize all other nervous systems around. So if you can be that stable, grounded, centered force, even if you're in a crowd of 1,000, there will be others that are tapping into that and calming because that is what you carry. So this
Mhm.
is really, really essential in this time of so much upheaval and so much activated violence and actions against, against others, to be that stillness, that quiet, that softer, more centered being. So slow down. You may have noticed that I've slowed the pace of my speech, right? This lets us have some space to let the words land, to think about what, or to feel, really better than thinking, to feel what that actually means. Does that really resonate with us? And slowing down is just taking some pauses and making some noticings. I find that the natural world is the best place for me to draw the energy that I need and release the energy that I don't. I am amazed every single day at nature, at the plants that grow, at the worms that nourish the soil, and the worms that eat what we consider to be trash. They eat hair, they eat cardboard, they eat all these things, and they turn that into beautiful poop that nourishes our soil and our food. Like, it is magic. These beings are the great transmuters, right, of all time. And I also find that animal messengers, if we can notice them, because, and you have to slow down a bit to notice them. If you're going super fast speed and you're running from one thing to the next, you're not going to see the bird that great Aunt Trudy is sending to you, so you can delight in her presence and the treasure that she had of blue jays, for example. So slowing down is essential. So I too believe is meditating. But you don't have to be a great meditator. I'm not a great meditator. My thoughts ramp up every single time I sit down to meditate. That's okay. It's just showing up to it. I'm just looking for a tiny bit of space between my thoughts. And that is the slowing down that I need. And it positions me to be more receptive to what spirit wants to bring through, which is love, which is light, which is compassion.
Mhm. Okay, so the next trick question. People want everything now.
Yes.
So, is there a specific timeline in doing being able to tap into our guides?
Oh, you can do it today. Yeah, for sure. I promise you, you
Mhm.
can do it today. You can do it now. You
Mhm.
do not have to meditate for 2 years before you engage in a particular channeling practice. No, you can receive the communication of souls and of spirit anytime you want it. You just have to present yourself as best you can. Because
Mhm.
remember, the whole law of attraction thing, if we don't take it at its extreme, whatever frequency you're holding is going to draw in a similar frequency. So don't sit down to channel If you are frantic, if you are rushed, if you are agitated, irritated, angry, no, you'll want to work through that first. But do get out in nature. I promise you, this is the best place to channel. It really, really is. Mother Earth, she wants to talk to us. Go hug a tree, put your heart against a tree. You will receive downloads, information, care, love. It doesn't have to be words. That's not the only way to channel. It's feelings, it's imagery, it's knowingness.
Yeah.
But yes, you can do it immediately. You do not have to master anything to be a channel. You're already a channel.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I do have people that have made comments. I've heard comments about people are a little bit fearful of stepping into the recognition of channeling because they're fearful of what they're going to bring in. And you have already kind of talked a little bit about that, bringing in the heavier, denser energies. So how do you help people feel a little bit more comfortable and not being fearful of opening up these channels and becoming more aware of it?
Yeah. So I really think that self-love and self-compassion and radical self-care, as it's been called, that's kind of the foundation. Because if you are caring for yourself as the divine being that you are, then you are already positioned more securely, more safely to recognize what's coming through as loving guidance. It is true that there is darkness. We can see it all over. Humans are making some atrocious behaviors and decisions. It's also true, though, that that's not what we are made of. That's just an option that some are using based on a lot of different factors, but the greatest of which is non-love. Have them having been exposed to or raised within or just the absence of their experience of love. So yeah, I totally get the concern about this, and the best way for you to feel safe within channeling is to love yourself to pieces.
Yeah, I like that answer. Okay, so what is one thing that we might not have talked about that you want to share about channeling? What is it?
Mm. Huh. That's a good question. I'm probably just going to keep repeating the thing about the natural world
Okay.
because I really want people and animals. A lot of us are connected to our companion animals.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of channeling for people of their animals. And we can channel our own animals if we move our own fears and worries off to the side and just really attune to Fluffy or Fido or whoever it is and ask, what do you need from me? Would this be helpful to you? And just pause, wait, listen for the response. Get really clear on what your body's yes is and what your body's no is.
Yeah.
For some people, they're not aware of that yet. And I understand why, right? There's a lot of conditioning that has caused us to mistrust ourselves. So, especially women, identified women, we've been taught to override our needs like morning, noon, and night, and just only attend to that which is someone else's desires or needs. So, let your body show you consistently what is yes and what is no, and then when you ask your questions, you'll be able to discern the responses in your body and trust that.
Yeah. So that goes into, how becoming more intuitive is going to help us to start making our choices and decisions a little bit differently.
Oh, I promise you, it's gonna change the world. It's
Yeah.
gonna change the world. If you can imagine with me for a moment that all the humans trust their inner voice of wisdom. Just first, oh, I'm just have chills all over my whole body. Just imagine for a moment that was the case. Then we would be living in harmony with all beings. We would be protecting life because we love it in all of its many forms. We would care for ourselves as the treasured beings that we are. We would go beyond just what's for us or our family or whoever we deem to be our family and see the humanity as the collective family and the more than human beings also as woven within this intricate web. We would not position ourselves in any sort of a dominant sphere because we're not. We're just part of a web. So, yeah.
Well, I want to, because another, again, this is something I talk about all the time. And again, it's moving into this higher dimension of consciousness to become more heart centered
Hmm.
instead of fear based, mind centered.
Yes.
The mind's programming, and it's hard for people to do. It is, and again, I've had to go through it. It's reprogramming.
Yes.
It's reprogramming your mind from going to the think and not learning, I mean, not, or ignoring that I have this feeling,
Mhm.
but my mind is telling me this is what I should do because of all of the criteria or whatever it meets on paper, our paper mind. And then, okay, but I got to go against that.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
this is scary.
Yeah. Well, we're raised in this hierarchy. Everything is in hierarchy. And so there are levels, right, or stages, or like sets of goals, et cetera. But in the typical way that many have learned their place in the world, it is with humans somehow at the top of this hierarchical system, which, yikes, we've made a mess of that, like I think we've proven that we're not actually meant to be in this dominant sort of position. But when we start to recognize, like, me as you as me, no matter if you are human or you are canine or you are feline or you are worm, it does not matter. Every life is of equal value. And then, of course, we have hierarchies within humanity, right? That's what the social justice issues that we're facing, just horrifically lack of social justice. So, because then we have some humans that are given privileges and others that are not, based on certain appearances. So this is we the systems are breaking down, they are breaking apart. I don't know if in my lifetime I will see the full rebirth, but I'm here for it. I'm here to serve into that. I'm excited about that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. It's happening right before our eyes.
Yeah.
It's amazing to be here right now. Absolutely. So another thing that I hear people talk about all the time is that I'm stuck.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm stuck. So when people, I usually find that there's something going on when somebody's stuck, in a sense that, maybe there's more happening energetically, or something's shifting in my body, or something's shifting in my belief systems, and I've got to sit still for just a minute.
Hmm.
So how do you, when somebody says to you, I feel like I'm not, it's like, I feel like I went through this growth period, and now I feel like I'm just spinning in circles and I don't know what direction to go, and I don't feel like I'm moving forward.
Hmm.
How do you guide people through that?
Well, and that's often something we channel in a session because all of us know what that feels like. Many times, what the guides will reflect back is that person is in a period of integration. And integration feels very different energetically than the growth and expansion, right? Because we grow, we reach, we stretch, we expand, and then we have this expectation that either that's going to continue at that pace and that speed, and if it doesn't, then we must be stuck. This is again the trick of the mind. But integration, without pause, time, space to take that growth, allow it to reach all the areas and aspects of our lives and our relationships and our commitments and our soul's purpose, then all that growth is for nothing, because without integration we don't embody it, we don't wear it, we don't apply it. So sometimes this feeling of stuckness, you can be really, really grateful for it. Just breathe through that. Maybe there is some energy that's stuck, in which case I would say movement is really helpful. When I'm feeling that stagnation, I have to get out walking, or I have to get out gardening, or I have to do something that increases my heart rate and really moves energy through my body. And that's helpful sometimes for a lot of people as well. But remember that we are not here to do life at breakneck speed. We are here, yes, for growth, for expansion, for self-expression. And then we also must integrate. And that holds a very different feel.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's important. We have to,
Essential.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have to integrate, and because then we have to start adjusting to what we're
Yes.
shifting and changing, and that's the integration time period.
Yes.
Learning what is it? Learning how to be, or learning how to apply this new thing
Yes.
that we've acquired or we removed.
Yeah, and it's really exciting too. I just went through a massive expansion I moved back to my childhood home. And this was like a whole journey of renovations in the home, but also in myself, which I didn't expect.
Yeah,
Transformation upon transformation. And now I don't know who I am fully yet. And how exciting is that?
yeah,
Here I am. I've arrived. Who is she? What's she up to? What's she calling in next? It's very, very exciting. So there's
it
an
is.
integration.
But that's funny that you should say that because I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you know how many people are afraid of that?
I love it
I
because
know
everything's
it's an
possible.
adventure.
Yeah, it's totally an adventure. I am not that version of the person who began this renovation process internally and physically in this home space. I'm not her. Okay. Who's here? Who is she? What does she want? What's she like? Does she like tea? Should we chat? It's really, really fun to
Yeah.
discover this.
So, okay, so now you're opening. I'm going down a rabbit hole again because you're opening up. To me, I'm like you. I'm like, bring it on. I want to know what's next. This is my guides had talked about. That we're going through this beautiful shift in time. That we're walking into an amazement park, not an amusement park, but
Yeah.
walking into an amazement park where you're not living in fear and you're just open to all the possibilities and all these beautiful options are being presented in front of us, and that's the amazement. And people are afraid of that, though. So people are so afraid of letting go of what they know and turning into that whole idea of, well, if I let go of this belief system, then who will I become? I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's
how do you
very,
help people
yeah.
with that?
Well, sometimes we just keep moving forward, right? Like the mind is designed and nurtured and conditioned to only feel safe when it can predict what's coming. And the truth is that we can never predict what's coming, but that doesn't stop me from trying. I'm always trying to make predictions and
Mhm.
adjust accordingly. So just know that there are certain aspects of being human that is it's inherent. It's okay. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to grasp very tightly to a belief system, even though your heart knows and your being knows this does not serve anymore. You'll start to loosen your grip. Do the practices, do the work. This isn't new. There's so much available freely now. You can dive into any meditation program you want to. You can listen to mantras. You can have a mala and do mantras with a mala. There's so many ways for you to gently, slowly move yourself forward, just tiny step by tiny step, without thinking like I have to do it all at once or it has to be complete by the time I'm 50 years old or whatever the rhetoric is.
Mhm. Absolutely. So you've mentioned animals and nature.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting because we're at the beginning. We're recording this at the beginning of February, and this isn't actually going to air until the end of February or beginning of March. But my monthly message for February was all about Gaia, and it's making me cry just talking about it. Oh man! So this timing is really interesting that this is coming up because she's crying.
Yes.
So I want to hear the message that you have to give.
Thank you for saying that. So I have heard, because I channel Gaia frequently, daily for myself in my relationship with her, but also for groups or for clients. And what I have heard, which I want to really call out because it's a bit of a bypass in my opinion, is people saying, "Oh, well, the earth is ascending, so everything's going to be fine." Listen up, people. No, you have a role to play here. And it is to care for all life upon this precious mother of ours. Because again, going back to this hierarchy, she cares as much for the worm and the insect as she does for the humans. And we have been imbued with this beautiful gift to share this level of care. And we can protect species. There's no reason why all these species should be going extinct. It is human behavior that is causing that. We are the humans doing the behavior. So every act we take of love, of care, of acknowledgement, of protection for the natural world is a loving act for our mother. And you said she's crying, and absolutely, she is suffering. And she is imploring us to awaken and start to relish, start to adore, start to cherish all of the life around us, because we cannot protect what we do not love. And she loves us all, and we must too love all.
Yeah. So you just said that she's imploring us to awaken.
Mhm.
So what is your definition of that?
I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to say that awakening is recognizing your part to play. It's not a big part, it's not a small part, it's just your part. My mentor Lynn Twist says that in the sacred evolution of life. I know that's a big thing. That sounds like a really big deal, but actually that some days the part is simply to take care of a plant. The part is simply to be more mindful of the food on your plate. The part is to support a local farmer. The part is to whatever you will know, because it will feel delightful and delicious to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Do
Thank you.
you have anything that we may have missed that you want to share with everybody
I
before we
don't think we left any stone uncovered.
we covered a lot in a very short period of time. So, what services do you offer? Because you offer quite a bit.
Yeah, so I have recorded classes on my website. It's soulinsight.com. And I also offer private sessions and group sessions and coaching, you can call it. I call it sacred advising, where I work closely with clients over a 6-month period to really move some energy and create clarity.
Yeah. And so, your website, for you guys that are listening, I'm sure you didn't catch that. Will you say it one more time?
Yes, it's soulinsight.com.
Okay. And for you guys, you can go just jump over to the video description, scroll down to the bottom of the video description, and we will have that website there. So you can get it and then just click on it and find out more about Stephanie. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate all of the information that you've shared with us. And thank you for being the beautiful soul that you are. And for all of you guys that are watching, thank you so much for sharing this conversation with us. And I will see you next Monday. Thanks.